has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
And we are back. Hour number 2, Ferrall, coast to coast, right here on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here, of course. Carver High and Joe in for Scotty. You get the Carver and Lisi special on Coast to Coast every Tuesday and Wednesday here. That's for sure. Before we move on, Joe, of course, we have to let everybody know always that if you don't have the new SportsGrid app already, well, what are you waiting for? I mean, honestly, you have to go out and get it now. It's available both at the iOS and the Play stores. You can track scores and live odds. You can stay up to speed on all the latest content from your favorite hosts like Joe Lisi. Or you could watch or listen to us live anytime, anywhere on the app. Watch SportsGrid on the app. It's outstanding. Or listen to SportsGrid Radio on the app, like weeknights at 8 p.m. East when Carver and Lisi are on. Another great time to go and flip the app on. Check out all the live odds and listen to me and Joe. It is smarter to be on SportsGrid. Go to sportsgrid.com/watch to catch the network and see all the platforms that you can find us on. All right, Joe, I want to start rolling through all this stuff. I want to give you some things from the last 2 games last night, but this just came across the desk, and I'll do it now. And we are going to talk about the Steelers and Mike Tomlin, and even though this is going to happen now, I still got to play you him walking away from the podium and all that. But Tomlin apparently told the players today at the meeting, you know, they have the big meeting, Joe, after you lose, your season's over, big meeting with the coach. Tomlin told the players he fully intends to coach in 2024. So here, you know, there's been stories of him talking to his family, taking a year or 2 off, doing all these things. He told the players he intends to be the coach. Now, obviously, unless Steelers ownership wants to change that. But from his perspective, Joe, it sounds like Tomlin is not going anywhere in Pittsburgh.
And think about it. It's a great job. He got them to the playoffs. I know they didn't win, but, I mean, it's still a great job considering that their starting quarterback, their quarterback of the future went down and then obviously lost the job to Mason Rudolph at the end, and he's been doing it with a patchwork crew. T.J. Watt was out. So, again, all eyes are on 2024. They still need some work, I believe. Offense and defensive line help, but we'll see how it plays out, Carver. I mean, anytime you go to the playoffs and you go toe-to-toe with potentially one of the best teams in the AFC, that's a pretty good job, no?
It's a pretty good job. I've seen a lot of people in that town today rumble about, well, it's been a long time since he's won a playoff game, and it's been a long time, you know, all the bad starts, et cetera, Joe. But I personally, when the guy's been there that long and he hasn't had a losing season, I know you want, obviously the goal is to get to the end. You need to get there, but it's hard to believe somebody else is going to give them a better chance than that. We welcome in all of our radio affiliates, Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Tuesday, Carver High and Joe in for Scotty. SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159, and Sports Byline. Great to have everybody with us. All right, Joe, I want to take you back to last night first. Bucs beat the Eagles 32-9. An absolutely gutless performance from Philadelphia as they lose 6 of their last 7 games. It was so bad, Joe. It was like they didn't want to be there, especially the guys on defense. Yeah. The tackling on a couple of these touchdowns by the Bucs was absolutely pathetic, including this one. This is the put-away one. Baker to Trey Palmer, 56 yards on Westwood 1. Nice job by Bradbury on this one, Joe.
1:40 to play in the third. Tampa Bay 18, Philadelphia 9. The winner heads to Detroit on Sunday. Motion across from David Moore from right to left. Shotgun snap to Mayfield. Sets, throws, right side, catch at midfield. Breaking a tackle is Palmer. Down the right sideline. Veers across the field. He's going to go. He'll go all the way for the touchdown. James Bradbury whiffed on the tackle, and it was nothing but green after that for Trey Palmer. 24-9. Tampa Bay out in front.
There was a lot of that last night, Joe. You were watching the game here on the grid with the guy. There was a lot of poor defensive effort by the Eagles last night.
No, there was, and you know, I can't understand it, Carver. Like, I understand it was a tale of two teams, right? Entering that ball game, Philly lost 5 of the last 6 by 13.5 points per game. On the flip side, Tampa won 5 of the last 6 by 9.5 points per game. But the playoffs give you an opportunity to erase every bad thing that happened in terms of the last month and a half of the regular season. And to come out as flat as they did, that was pathetic. I mean, no, they don't want to be there. How could you not want to be there when you're on the road facing basically a 500 ball club? Okay, we're not talking about San Francisco, all right? And you saw the Dallas Cowboys get kicked in the chops by Green Bay. That was an opportunity to step up and get back into the race. What was that last night? I mean, Bradbury wants out. He doesn't want to be on the Eagles. You know what? Cut his ass. If I'm an NFL coach, he wouldn't be on my team. I'd show him that tape. Get out the door. Get out the door. You suck. That was horrible. Every player on that defense needs to look at themselves in the mirror. And if you want an older head coach that just comes in and manages, that's not what the Eagles need. They need a swift kick in the ass. You sucked. You need a kick in the ass. That was horrible last night.
There was a very close competition between who was making more business decisions last night, either Bradbury on the Eagles or Patrick Peterson with the Steelers, because he made some business decisions also in that game.
Peterson's an old man. I mean, Peterson's 100 years old.
Joe says that's not a business decision. He just sucks now because he's old. That's pretty much the Joe that has.
Right. I mean, business decision. He just stinks. Like 100 years old since he roamed in Baton Rouge. Come on.
Let's hear from Sirianni, Joe. Because Nick,
this guy,
we lost 6 of our last 7. What happened, Nick?
Oh, obviously we were in a big slide, and anytime that's the case, I always look at myself first, and I didn't do a good enough job, and obviously we lost 5 of the last 6 and lost today. And it's almost like you couldn't get out of the rut we couldn't get out the rut we're in, and that's all of us. We'll all have to look ourselves in the mirror and accept that, and just find answers, find solutions. But obviously, when you start 10-1, and then you get into what happened for us. Obviously, that the expectations were high. Expectations were even higher when we started off 10-1. And we fell into a skid. So I'll look at everything. I'll look at, obviously the play calling. I'll look at the, the scheme. I'll look at, practices. Right. I'll look at everything that we're doing.
Chair in the locker room. How about
that? You chop them just for how long you went on, Joe. Just chop them. I mean, what's there to say? They all did an awful job. And here's what we can say now, too. Him losing Steichen and Gannon was a much bigger deal than people let on. They came in with their chest puffed out, Joe, in August when they got to training camp. We lost in the Super Bowl. Yeah, but you lost your coordinators. Doesn't matter. We got the talent. We got all this. Their chest was puffed out. They were 10-1, winning some games, Joe. Notice games that they pulled out of the fire at the end, and then that wasn't there for them late in the year, and they got it. That's just it. They are who we didn't think they were, as we like to go on the opposite side of it, Joe. They ended up not being who we thought they were.
Well, the good news is that the Kelce brothers have a podcast on Monday, so that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
I got one more for you from them when we come back. Coast to coast on a Tuesday. We're back after this.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The early line. only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, a Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Tuesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. All right, Joe, one more from this because I just thought it was pretty good. So there's been, obviously everybody in Philadelphia wants Sirianni chopped. You go to the Super Bowl last year, start 10-1, you lose 6 out of 7, you got to get the guy out. Jalen Hurts was asked about this afterwards. Let's listen to Hurts.
You want Nick back.
I didn't know he was going anywhere.
Question about whether
I didn't know that.
You know that.
Nah.
Where's your confidence level in him then to fix this team?
I have a ton of confidence in everyone in this building. It's just a matter of us going out there and playing clean football. And that's been something that we have not done.
He didn't know he was going anywhere, Joe. That was pretty good. I didn't know he was going anywhere. Nice job, Jalen. Me and Gabe were talking about this before. Let me pitch this over to you. Because Gabe tweeted about it last night, and then me and him just discussed this. How he got a lot of money, Joe, off of his performance last year. Deservedly so. He was outstanding, could have been the MVP. He was great in the Super Bowl. But one of the things that made him so great, Joe, is that he was a quote-unquote dual-threat quarterback. He was not just good throwing the football last year, but also getting the tough yards, running the football, ran for between 45 and 60 yards a game. He was giving you numbers like that. It seemed, Joe, especially down this stretch, and maybe he was hurt, and that's the reason why, but he stopped running the football completely, and especially last night where he only had one rushing attempt in the entire game.
No, that's what I was going to bring up. Why didn't anybody ask him, why didn't you run the football and take this team onto your shoulders, especially with your star, A.J. Brown, out of that lineup? We knew that the offensive weapons were limited last night for the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Devontae Smith, what a huge performance, but expecting Devontae Smith to be the sole asset for that team, I just didn't think it could happen. I actually thought Philadelphia would look to get into a lower scoring game, control the clock, utilize the rushing attack with DeAndre Swift and Jalen Hurts to preserve your defense and keep Baker on the sidelines. They didn't do any of that. I mean, DeAndre Swift had 16 yards in the first half, Carver. I mean, he had 4 touches. How does that happen? I just don't understand the offensive mindset. Okay, you don't want to utilize the run in the first half? Great. You come out of the second half, you don't even utilize the rushing attack in any capacity. In any capacity. Terrible
Zero.
Offense, defense of game plan. It was horrible.
Awful performance all the way around from that's for sure. And they got a long off season to think about it.
Here's what I want to know. This is as bad as the Philadelphia fans want him fired. Where's the media to get up there when Sirianni's up there? Why didn't you make adjustments? I mean, it's simple football. We're not talking about anything out of the ordinary. You're sending an all-out blitz. You have no tight end and no running back to chip him at all. That's football 101. A high school coach could come up with that. When Jalen Hurts is up there, stop asking him about Sirianni. Why don't you drill him? Why didn't you run the football? Let me ask the questions.
Get Joe in there. Get Joe in there. Let him spice things up a little bit. But the Eagles are done. They are finished. We'll see if anything happens or comes out of Sirianni. They said, I don't think, Joe, he's going to get chopped, just so that that's my opinion.
This is the problem.
I don't think he'll be chopped.
Not to cut you off. But this is the problem with the fan bases, right? We see it in college all the time. It's the NFL. Granted, did Nick Sirianni do a gutless job? Absolutely. You want Bill Belichick? Bill Belichick that couldn't win without Tom Brady? You want Mike McCarthy if he gets fired? Who do you want you want Ben Johnson, the up-and-coming coordinator? Great. He's a one-hit wonder. He'll take him to the playoffs. He'll lose a playoff game. You want his ass fired too. Who do they want? There's there's no Bill Walsh hanging out on the sidelines or Bill Cowher that's 100 years old. I mean, there's nobody. So you might as well try to work with Sirianni.
Get yourself a real defensive coordinator instead of Matt Patricia. Get yourself a real defensive coordinator. Tweak the offense. You got to make some changes on that offense. You got to get Hurts, I guess, 100% healthy and back to being what he was last year, and then they'll be back in the mix, Joe. But they're going to lose a lot of sandpaper here. Kelsey retires. He's going to retire. That's the anchor of that offensive line. As great as Lane Johnson is, Joe, he don't got much time left either. He's been around a long time also, just like Jason Kelsey. So the anchors of your line, which is what has made you the past couple years, the strength that you are running the football, they're going to be gone. They've tweeted out the list of free agents for the Eagles, Joe, guys, and it's long. I mean, there could be some serious turnover on that football team when you get to next year.
That might not be a bad thing, Carver. Those guys, if they're not producing at an all-pro level, then you might as well get young college guys or free agents in that at least could step up the productivity. There's a great base. I mean, Darius Slay, granted he got hurt and hopefully he's okay, but he wasn't an all-pro defensive back this year. He wasn't a game changer. Bradbury was as old as dirt. So, let's look at it for what it is. And at the end of the day, the season caught up with them. I don't know. Maybe Vrabel's a good fit for them.
Maybe. I think it'll be Sirianni, though. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. On the other side, how about the winners, Joe? Forget the Eagles. They're done. They're out. The Bucs, with a win for Bowles and Baker Mayfield, they will move on to play Detroit on Sunday. They lost to Detroit earlier this season at home. So back-to-back weeks, they're going to play a team in the playoffs that they lost to in the regular season. Baker Mayfield is ready for the challenge, Joe.
When I just immediately think back about the Lions game, a lot of missed throws by me. I think we had a lot of stuff there. Just didn't play our best game offensively. And so we'll look back at the tape once we get into the game plan stuff. But we're very different than we were early on in the year. And that's something to be proud of, that we've been continuing to improve. And we haven't reinvented the wheel. We've just stuck with it and just gotten better at the little things.
That's it.
6.5, Joe, is the number here for Sunday in Detroit. 48.5, a healthy total. And I know I do this to you all the time. I got to tell you, Baker did a hell of a job this year. That's a great job by him. He gets more flack than most guys around the league. And fourth team and whatever it is, and what they have the number at last night, Joe, fourth team in 36 months or something stupid like that they had up there. He wins football games when he's healthy. He's a tough player, and now he wins another playoff game. Remember, he won a playoff game in Cleveland too when they beat the Steelers that time. So he can win you playoff games, Joe. Can he get you all the way to the end? Not sure, but he can get your team to the playoffs and win playoff games.
I will give credit where credit is due. I was wrong on Baker this year. You called it up. I'll come up to the podium. Kid's gutty, blue collar, more blue collar than what I thought. All right, so maybe I'm taking him on. I will say I think it's a difficult matchup. I'm coming out. I already said it last night on air. I'm not backing down. This is a crypto catalytic converter over. There is no way this game trends under the 48.5. I am telling you this right now. This has, listen, Carver, you could talk it down all you want. I'm going as high as 58-60. Goff, Baker, between both of them, we might have 80 attempts in this game. 80. I said it, not you. Over the 40. Best bet on the board for next week. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, I think we all thought that the Rams and Lions were going to be that after the first half on Sunday night. I know you were on the guys on the yonder. You were on the yonder. I said it. What were you saying at halftime? You were sweating, is what you were doing at halftime.
No, I doubled down, Carver. I'll show you the tickets.
Oh, you went in for more.
Yeah, double the meat.
All right. Nice job by you, Joe. Look at you digging the shovel down. Nice job. I want to take the Bucs, Joe, but it's a tricky spot. It's this Lion team has a little bit of juice now also after winning that game against the Rams.
Hey,
I can see it. I know. I got the good thing is, Joe, it's Tuesday, and I still have a few days to think about this and try to land myself where I want to be. Don't have a very strong feel early in the week. Coast to Coast will come back. Lions share. Davis Maddox next.
My goodness, if the Bucs come out strong and certainly make a point to say, look, even though we have been playing our best basketball, we're here to beat you down. And that's a big-time win for the Milwaukee Bucks.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I'll say 12 or more years of suffering. The last, take a look. Go look at it yourself. After Bear Bryant, all they did was lose.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
This is one of the hardest jobs in all of football. You are replacing Bear Bryant. You are replacing Nick Saban. You are replacing guys who won national championships, and they still wanted him out. They still wanted him gone.
Mike Shula,
Mike Shula was a disaster. Dubos was a disaster.
Gene Stallings.
That's what I mean. They ran him out. He won a national championship, and they ran Gene Stallings out.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Good move by the Clippers, and obviously, folks, they have Tyronn Lue, who I think is one of the best coaches in the league. And I'll say this right now, folks, the way they're playing, I know Minnesota's in first. I know Oklahoma City's been great. I know Denver's been fantastic. But the team I'm thinking right now that could actually come out of the West, if they stay healthy, and he keeps playing like that, it's Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca.
Scoring teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all access.
In the NFC in terms of these wild cards and in terms of the playoff picture.
In-game live, prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live, overtime.
You want to give me over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well,
NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. That's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The brighter the lights, the bigger the stakes. Hunt or be hunted. Know your prey. This is a whole new jungle. This is The Lion's Share. Brought to you by BetMGM.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. BetMGM is getting you ready for Big Game 58. Bet $5, get $158 back instantly. What do you got to do? Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $5 into your newly created account. This is for new customers. Place a wager in the amount of at least $5 at standard odds price. Once you have placed a bet, you will receive $158 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Doesn't matter if you win or lose. You got to use bonus code SG158. BetMGM getting you ready for Big Game 58 in a couple of weeks in Las Vegas. Every day, BetMGM has us ready for the Lion's Share, brought to you by BetMGM. And Davis Maddock is with us, Fantasy Sports Today, on Saturday mornings here on the grid. We only have 3 NBA games tonight, Davis. We have some plays for you in those. But let's start here. We're down to the last 8 now in the NFL. The final couple games of the super wild card weekend yesterday. And look, we've got some high spreads here. You know, usually you have the best 8 teams, right? Everybody looks forward to this weekend because it's the best 8 teams. You had some teams like the Cowboys stumble. The Eagles finished off their slide. I don't know if we necessarily have the best 8 teams. I mean, with Bucks being there, Texans being there, Packers being there. But I know one thing, Davis. Me and you have the game of the weekend, Sunday, 6:30 p.m. East, as the Bills and the Chiefs will meet for the 3rd time in 4 years in the playoffs. But this time, Davis, Patrick Mahomes has to play his first road playoff game, and it's in Orchard Park. I can't wait for this one.
Well, I can wait for it. I mean, in the sense that I'm not really that the Bills have not been fun to play for me. I can't remember the last one I really looked forward. I guess the 2021 regular season loss to the Bills, I was looking forward to that game because the Chiefs were playing like crap, and I was like, look, this team, they're not that serious. They'll get serious against the Bills. They were not serious in that game. They got blown out at home in that game against the Bills. Obviously, the playoff game later that year, I mean, to me, other than the first Super Bowl win, that is kind of the Patrick Mahomes game, you know, like that's kind of the game that I'm going to most associate with him when I'm thinking back about his career, probably 20, 30 years from now. But right now, the Bills, I think, are just the better team. I think Josh is probably playing as good as Pat, if not a little bit better. And, I mean, Khalil Shakir would be like a 1,200-yard, 10-touchdown wide receiver on Kansas City, I think. Like, Rashee Rice is nice and all, but I don't know, man. It just – and, like, Kelsey had all these drops in that game. Like, he had 7 targets and 3 drops in the first half. Like, that can't happen. They have margin for error against the Dolphins because the Dolphins stinks. And the Bills had a little bit of margin for error against the Steelers because the Steelers absolutely stink too. But it's kind of just going to just feel like whoever blinks first. Like if the Chiefs have 2 dumb turnovers, you know, Pacheco fumbles or Andy Reid refuses to go for it, 4th and 3 from midfield, they lose. But if Josh has 2 bad turnovers or, uncorks a 90-yard deep ball to the fullback, like he did, I'll never forget his first playoff game. It was really incredible. Like it's the same thing. It's kind of just like whoever blinks first, I think, is going to lose.
Yeah, and the funny part is, since that game you were talking about, the playoff game, last time they played the playoffs 2 years ago, the 13-second game, which was also probably the best performance by a losing quarterback in NFL playoff history. That's how ridiculous Josh Allen was in that game, and then to never see the ball again, as we know, after the 4th Gabe Davis touchdown. But still, I'm not over it yet, Davis, but maybe I will be by 10 o'clock on Sunday night. You know, they've played unders the last 2 years. They played an under this year. They played an under last year. So since that game, which was 42-36, both games have been in the low 20s with high totals. And once again, you got yourself a 46 and a half that they're going to have for this week. And I think it plays the same way as the last two, Davis. I think it's probably under again with the way that these two defenses have gone the last few weeks. One more thing for this weekend. Of the big dogs in the other three games, Packers 9.5, Texans 9, Bucks 6.5. Who do you like the most out of the dogs? Maybe even not necessarily to win outright, but to cover those numbers.
Buccaneers for sure, because I am not like the Lions should be 4-point favorites or 3.5-point favorites, not 6.5. No disrespect intended to Dan Campbell's Lions. Certainly the Lions are a better team, probably a little bit better coached. I don't even know if you would say the skill level, especially on offense, is all that high. Like, what's really the difference between Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff? Like, Mayfield takes worse sacks than Goff, but when Baker is healthy, he doesn't really have that turnover problem that plagued him so much. I mean, obviously, you know, in everyone's head, we think of Baker Mayfield as being this really turnover-prone quarterback because he was as a rookie, and then he was that last year in Cleveland when he had torn labrum. But I think Baker and Goff, it's a kind of a draw, honestly. Evans and Godwin are certainly comparable to Laporta and St. Brown for the Lions. I would go the other way on the other dogs. You can on BetMGM, you can parlay the 49ers spread and the Ravens spread, and I think you get plus 280. I would go that direction. As I think Packers, great story. Jordan Love, awesome. He's going to be great for the next 15 years. Like, great Packers. Thanks for that. The Packers are maybe in the best spot of any team in the NFC moving forward. The top 7 pass catchers for them in 2023 are all under contract for the next 2 years before any of them are eligible for an extension. They are in a great spot, but they are going to get boat raced this week by the 49ers.
So squash jobs on Saturday and some close games on Sunday is where Davis is leaning here early in the week. All right, Lions share picks for tonight. NBA, only 3 games. Let's start in Philadelphia. Pretty good one. Nuggets and the Sixers getting together. -1.5 for Philly. 233.5 the total. Let's start with the side.
Yep, only 3 games, but we got 3 awesome ones. I guess if on a Tuesday night we're only going to have 3 games, we might as well all have good games. The Nuggets spread tightened a little bit this morning when I was going through plays. It was like 4.5, 5, depending on when exactly you looked at it, because Jokic was listed as questionable, Jamal Murray was listed as questionable, Michael Porter Jr. was listed as questionable, and then Mike Malone in his media availability about an hour ago said they're all playing. Why are they all playing? It's a big game. It's a national TV game. Now, the interesting thing about this, Carver, is Jokic does not care. To him, no difference going to work against Joel Embiid or Domantas Sabonis or it does not matter to him. The dude just shows up, does his thing, and leaves and starts to check his phone to check on how his horses are doing. Now, for Embiid really cares. Embiid not only really wants to show up against Jokic, but Embiid likes his numbers, and he's got this big streak going where he is about to break Hakeem Olajuwon. He's tied right now for Hakeem's record for most consecutive 30-point, 10-rebound performances. Definitely wants to beat that record. So the next prop is going to be, we're going to take Embiid over 50.5 or 49.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. You honestly could just take the points and the rebounds. I think that's fine. You could actually, if you really want to get creative, you would do over in the game total, Nuggets money line, Embiid points, Embiid rebounds over. I kind of like that approach, but Nuggets money line and then that Embiid, all the Embiid props, even if they lose, that dude is he is going to be doing his best to fill up the stat sheet tonight.
He certainly is. The Kings are in Phoenix against the Suns. Suns -4.5, heavy total too, 243.5.
This is a pretty interesting one, right? Like, this is a game where we're finally starting to get everyone healthy on both sides of the ball. The Clippers, we started out the year just like they trade for James Harden. We're just fading them every single night. And now, the Suns are super legit. They're good. They have a chance to be like fourth in the standings if they win out for another. Like, they could be in a great spot by the trade deadline. So I am taking the Suns on the money line tonight. Like, it's really as simple as when a team like this that has not been very good starts to get all their pieces together and the thesis starts to play out, that is a time to jump on them, right? Like, sure, you can get blown out by the Clippers, but you're going to smoke the Lakers. You're going to smoke the Trailblazers. Right now, the only guys they don't have available are Bol and Damian Lee, right? Like, the thesis of the Phoenix Suns is coming together. So we are taking them tonight against the Kings.
And final game, the Thunder stay in Los Angeles. They lost to the Lakers last night. Tonight they play the Clippers at the Crypto. This was 6.5 earlier, but now Thunder getting 5.5, Davis.
Yeah, Shea probably not going to play. Probably going to be sitting this one out. The road back-to-back with the knee injury. I love the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're awesome. Chet's awesome. Dort's awesome. Jalen Williams are awesome. Shea is like, no one can put the biscuit in the basket when he is not in there. And the Clippers are playing so well right now. We gotta take the Clippers side of this one.
Yeah, they are such a different team when he's not out there. It's hard when you take a guy who's a guaranteed 30 night. Just no doubt about it. Like, doesn't have bad nights, doesn't have slippage nights. You take him out of the lineup, it's very tough to do. Davis, tremendous job as always. We will see you tomorrow on the Lion's Share, brought to you by BetMGM. We're back after this on Coast to Coast.
The Lion's Share, presented by BetMGM.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now he's a little bit more over money, but he's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6th and the 7th seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong directions? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
A lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, a Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like, there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Tuesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. All right, Joe, I got to play this. I mean, me, Gabe, and Scott had a great time doing the game yesterday here on SportsGrid, but I did not get to hear any of the highlights of this game. So if there's one that I have to pick, it's going to be just another tremendous superhuman play from Josh Allen, a 52-yard touchdown run. Joe, how about this on Westwood 1?
Play clock down under 10. Game clock at 7:15. Ball spotted at the 47-yard line. Isabella in motion. Allen takes the snap. Now he'll keep it himself. Running to his left. He runs inside the numbers. Gets to the 40. Cuts to his left to the 30. 25-20. Big man inside the 15. Sidelines inside the 5. Touchdown Bills. Josh Allen, a 52-yard scamper. He bounced off a couple of defenders, and he gives the Bills a 20-0 lead, and snowballs go flying in the air yet again.
Joe, there is a little something going on with them. And I know maybe me and Gabe are doing that more, because we're Bills fans, and maybe we're just seeing it a little bit differently than everybody else. But this team isn't as good as the team that went into Arrowhead 2 years ago. I don't even think they're maybe as good as last year. And last year's team had a lot of things happen to them. And they had a lot of, you want to call them excuses, call it whatever, towards the end of that season that kind of caused them to fizzle out and get embarrassed at home by Cincinnati and going out in the playoffs. But they were 6-6, were kind of left for dead. And every year, Joe, I think you brought this up in early December. Every year there's a team that just goes on a run and gets hot, and they just don't lose. And they have now become that with the way that they finished the season. They've won 6 games in a row now after beating the Steelers. They got the Chiefs coming to them, which they've been dying for years. There's just a little something special. They got nobody on D. I mean, they're taking guys off the street, and yet they're still giving really good performances on defense. They just have a little mojo right now, Joe, along with the fact that Allen's playing at a super high level.
Yeah, you got a hot quarterback and you have a hot team, Carver, and I did say it when we talked about, teams coming out of their bye week, a la the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they won the Super Bowl with Brady. I made that type of correlation. They were winning a little bit ugly in terms of the few games right after the bye, but they did get the victory in Kansas City, did wear some teams down. They got critical road wins down the stretch, especially in LA, but more importantly, Miami, and now they found their identity and their consistency, and they're rolling with that. They get this victory over Kansas City this weekend. I think they're going, buddy. Pack your bags. The Buffalo Bills are going to Las Vegas.
If there's one thing that you are not going to get me involved in this week, whether it's here or on the radio show, if there's one thing you are not at all going to get me involved with,
done deal.
It is talking about anything that involves this team beyond 11 p.m. on Sunday night.
No,
that's it.
Carver.
My focus is Sunday, 6:30. That's it. I'm not talking about anything that could potentially happen beyond that. That's it.
It's signed,
one goal,
sealed,
one focus.
delivered.
Mahomes,
It's in.
first road game that he's ever played in the playoffs. Bills Mafia. All of it, Joe. That's the focus. Not who's playing here, where's going to Vegas. No, Joe. I will not be dragged into it by you this week. I am standing my ground. That's it.
Oh,
Not
that's
happening.
it? You said it? You said it? Who gives you the right to say? No,
I said it.
Carver, it's a done deal.
You can say
Done
whatever
deal.
you want. You can say
Kansas
whatever
City,
you want. I will not be
Kansas
dragged
City
into it.
has no shot to win this.
Here we go. Here we go with this. No shot. Billy Club special. No shot. Let's go. I'm not doing
Let me
it,
tell
Joe.
you, I'm going to throw out a couple of
I'm not going to let
props.
you gas me up either.
Couple of juicy props. Keep an eye out for Mecole Hardman this week. Anytime touchdown score.
Please.
Could be hot. Could be hot.
Mecole Hardman. Maybe if he holds on to the ball. Geez. All right, Joe. I'm going to skip the. You know what? We've all seen the Tomlin. Now that Tomlin has told the players he's staying, I don't think the Steelers stuff that I was going to play is as juicy anymore. I mean, everybody saw Tomlin in the last 24 hours. If you haven't seen Tomlin, I mean, what is it, Mav? It's probably like a 6-second clip. Look, here we go. Here's Tomlin yesterday being asked about his contract, only having one more year left on his deal. The great Mike Tomlin after the game yesterday. Here he is.
Let's see it.
Anyone?
Mike, you have a year left on your contract.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Mike. See you later, Mike.
All right.
Chop. And of course, we find out today that he is going to, or at least he told the players that he intends to be the coach next year. We've seen coaches lie before, Joe, on the college level, maybe not as much at the NFL level. So I guess anything's possible. I do want to play Allen, though, because, as we said, 6-6, they were left for dead. Every week has been like a playoff game for the Buffalo Bills since Thanksgiving. Here's Allen.
Well, I mean, I think we're playing at a comfortable level because of the uncomfortable situations that we've been in this last 6-7 weeks. It's almost a sense of or a breath of fresh air knowing that everybody's in the same position that we have been, win or go home. And to be in that situation, like I said, the dividends that it's going to pay off, I think you kind of saw that tonight of, we were cool, calm, and collected, and nobody blinked, and we just kind of went out there and did our job, and we're going to need to continue to do that.
Flat 3 right now, Joe. Early in the week, there was some 2.5 action last night late. Now back to 3. Flat 46 the total. These last two meetings, now they've played 5 games in a row at Arrowhead. They have not played in Orchard Park since 2020, and that was no fans, Joe. That was an early in the season COVID year game where there was nobody in the stands at Orchard Park. So the last 2 games have been unders. This year in the regular season, last year in the regular season, since the 42-36 playoff game 2 years ago. I think this one trends to the under as well, Joe. Maybe the number's gotten low enough where you want to go after, because those games were in like the 48-51 range, those unders that we've gotten. With it at 46, are you going to go and try and go after the over?
I might go after the over. I will say this. It could be like mano a mano. All right, hero. Mahomes telling Allen, all right, hero, you want to go? Let's go in your place. We could go, we'll check down to Isaiah Pacheco, get a little Travis Kelce involved. Did I tell you Kelce has a podcast with his brother every week, Yeah, I know. Did I tell you that? A little Mecole Hardman in your life? How about a little Rashee Rice coming off 8 for 130 and a tutty? He had a tutty last week against my Miami Dolphins. What do you think? Maybe some Chiefs and Bills just breaking loose down the sidelines. How come they didn't activate Lanny Fournette? They got that Lat Murray out there.
Well, I will tell you why, and me and you wanted to play him to score a touchdown, but the problem was they have so many injuries on defense and at wide receiver. They obviously didn't play Gabe Davis yesterday. They had a few other guys out. You only get 2 practice squad elevations in the playoffs. Fournette was on the practice squad. They needed it for linebacker and wide receiver, Joe. They needed to bring for that. So that's why
they had to roll out Lat Murray?
And now I just saw, because even more injuries and they need roster room and they need space, I saw they released Fournette about an hour ago. So Fournette's not even going to be an option.
Lanny,
it looks like for the Bills
that was so
going
juicy.
Forward.
He was lined up for 7-1
in
the snow. He was lined up in the snow game, 7-1.
This could be one of these spots, Joe, where they've talked to him. Listen, sit out. We're going to bring you back in a week. Let us get through this game. We need help on defense. Let us get healthy, and then we add you back, unless somebody goes and plucks him. But I guess that's possible too. To be fair, Joe, we're talking about a guy who's had like 6 carries this year, so this isn't like earth-shattering stuff. for what's going on with the Bills.
7 for 20 against the Fish.
Right. So, again, Joe, not an earth-shattering move that we have. So the Chiefs and the Bills will be Sunday at 6:30. The Saturday games, Joe, we will get the 1 seeds back in the mix. Of course, the Ravens and the 49ers have had a week off to rest up. Both teams had a lot of injuries that looks like are going to be much better for them heading into these games. The Ravens will be at home for the Texans. That'll be the first game on Saturday at 4:30. Here is head coach John Harbaugh. Loves his veteran leadership. They're going to be ready to go as the playoffs begin.
I mean, it's a player's game, and the team belongs to the players. When you coming up, you played sports in high school or college, right? What did they always say? You know, it's the seniors run the team. It's the senior leadership is the key. You got to have great senior leadership. And that's true in the NFL, too. You've got to have great senior leadership. And we have that. Our seniors, you know, and I don't mean like old age type seniors, you know, I mean our veteran players and our best players are also our hardest workers. They're our most responsible guys. And that's what drives the whole thing through the whole deal. So, you talk about vision. The vision, basically, the definition of vision is a shared understanding. You know, we have a shared understanding of what's required and what we need to do and how we're going to go about doing it. And I just feel like those guys drive that every single day. Locker room, meeting room, practice field, hanging out, going to dinner, whatever it might be. That gets reinforced all the time. And once it gets reinforced all the time, it kind of centers back on itself and gains momentum. And next thing you know, it's rolling.
Little Saban there with the hands, Joe. Did you like that? Harbaugh had a little Saban going with the hands. He was moving the hands around at the podium. Here's what I know, Joe. This is a big number. It's 9 for the Ravens on Saturday and a flat 44. Now, me and you have not been together, and it feels like the Texans beat the Browns like 3 weeks ago with everything that's happened in the last couple of days. I understand everybody, Joe, fawning over C.J. Stroud. I get it. He's had an unbelievable year. But that game on Saturday was about Joe Flacco turning into a pumpkin. That game was not about C.J. Stroud. And he played well, Joe. But you listen to the last 3 or 4 days, and you would think, you were talking bouquets earlier with Todd Bowles and all that stuff. It's not like he went out and threw 45 points on the board. I mean, they had 2 pick sixes. Flacco kept handing him the ball. Let's calm down. This is a tough spot for Stroud here on Saturday in Baltimore.
It is, Carver, but let's not forget they played week 1. They didn't blow them out of the water, and that offense was nowhere near where they are right now with Nico Collins and C.J. Stroud, right? I know they covered that first. What was the first line? 9.5? Week 1, 9.5, 10?
It got to 10 at one point. Yeah,
they won by like 15,
I was on the Ravens. I was on the Ravens.
Right, but I'm just saying. I said it. I laid it. I said it. I laid it. All right, okay. E.F. Hutton over there. I said it. All I know is this. It's going to be a tough ball game. If Stroud does get into a little bit of a rhythm, the ability to jump up early has been key for them, right? They've done it now in back-to-back games against Indy, and they weathered the storm, had a first-half lead against Cleveland. If they do that to Lamar, we've seen Lamar at home struggle at times. Indianapolis beat them because Lamar was playing from behind. Same type of situation. It comes down to the front 7 of Houston. Been great against the run. If that continues, I give them a shot.
Look, I lean to the 9 right now, Joe. I do. As much as I was kind of poo-pooing C.J. Stroud's performance against the Browns on Saturday, I do lean because we've seen the Ravens in this spot in the Lamar era come out a little flat after a bye. So I think that's a possibility. Not lose, but come out a little flat. Coast to Coast will come back. More to do on a Tuesday after this.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
San Francisco minus 120 to win the NFC Championship. It's the Cowboys with the second best number. The Eagles at 7-1.
What the hell's the difference between the 6 and the 7 seed? I need my guys healthy here to make a playoff push. They took the bye week and still won the football game. You want to talk about two franchises going in the wrong direction? The Eagles. Ridiculous what they did this week.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's a lot of fun to do because you could kind of, place a season-long bet all at once and just wait it out. I've always found that interesting. But New York is one state where it's a little bit unclear.
You cannot bet on basically anything that requires a vote. So you're talking about an MVP award, a Cy Young, a Rookie of the Year, anything where people at the end of the year have to vote.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
And I tell you what, there's 1,000,001 coaching vacancies right now. Brady Cannon is a candidate for the Vegas Raider job. Like there's so many jobs available right now. NFL teams are coming to the grid for our talent. So there's that many head coaching spots available right now. I'm going to submit my resume.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back, Ferrall, coast to coast on a Tuesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Everybody always loves Joe. This day in Carver High history. How about 1960? Red Wings winger Gordie Howe has a goal and an assist to pass Maurice Rocket Richard is the NHL's then all-time leading scorer with 947 points. 1966, Blackhawks winger Bobby Hull scores 4 goals. This is his 17th career hat trick in a 6-5 loss to the Rangers. 1970, MLB pitcher Curt Flood files a civil lawsuit that challenges baseball's reserve clause that he would eventually win, which would start free agency in Major League Baseball. How about that? 1972, Super Bowl VI. The Cowboys beat the Dolphins 24-3. Roger Staubach wins the MVP. Joe had the under.
The Dallas Cowboys, within now only 5 seconds of the championship of the National Football League, winner of the Vince Lombardi Trophy, and the man they say is unemotional, Tom Landry, the only coach the Cowboys have ever had. Tom Landry, a most happy man, is carried off the field by his players.
A man with no emotion, Joe. Tom Landry, carried off the field. 1981, boxer Leon Spinks is mugged with his assailants even taking his gold teeth. Couldn't even leave him that. 82, Oilers rookie goalie Grant Fuhr has his 23-game unbeaten streak ended to the Leafs. 88, the St. Louis Cardinals announced their move to Phoenix. No, not the baseball team, the football team. That is now the Arizona Cardinals, of course. 2019, Warriors guard Steph Curry becomes the first player in NBA history to hit 8+3-pointers in 3 consecutive games. Joe wishes he would do that for him now. Alt. 2019, James Harden, first player to score 55 in back-to-back games. 2020, the Mets chopped Carlos Beltran after he was involved in the Astros sign-stealing scandal. Should have never done that. He'd probably still be the manager, and the Mets would have won more games than they already had. We're back, Hour 3, Coast to Coast, next.